I'm going to talk a little bit about the plan, what it is, how to put it together, why I think it's important. Bill called it an emergency disaster plan, which is really what it's called. But just to be clear, there's a difference in my mind between an emergency and a disaster. So a lot of these things I'm going to be talking about are going to be more emergency things. There was one incident that we had on the farm that I'm going to talk about that I would consider a disaster. The other ones of all have been emergencies, at least in my mind. So, first of all, I think we should define emergency, what it actually is. It's any unplanned event that can cause death or significant injuries to faculty, staff, students, the public, or that can shut down a business, disrupt operations, cause physical, environmental damage. I think everyone gets that, tornadoes, that kind of stuff. But there's another part of an emergency defined as it threatens an institution's financial standing or public image. Also is right in the definition. So for us, I would consider $7 or $8 gas an emergency because we deliver birds all over the country, and that would have a big impact on our financial status. So other things, dead birds that can come from disease, they can come from the weather, predator loss, they're all going to be dealt with in a different way. Floods. A year after we built this pen, I went down there and there were carp swimming next to the pens. And, just when you think you've seen everything, you wake up in the morning and you have to figure out how to keep fish out of your pens. So you never know what you're going to find. I didn't have this written down anywhere. Never thought I would ever have to deal with fish in pheasant pens, but there it is. Certainly snow, wind damage, ice. Those are all very common occurrences in our industry. But there's a lot of other circumstances that could come up that are going to, cause an emergency situation. And, certainly injury, even death. All kinds of natural disasters and fire. I put the media and the press in there. You remember I said it have an effect on your public image. Bad press can have a tremendous impact on your business. And with social media nowadays, it's instantaneous and it's there forever. So you really should have a plan. What if someone does post an undercover video or you have some negative press? What are you going to do? Are you going to do anything? Are you going to respond? How are you going to respond? You really need to be thinking about that, especially this day and age. That truck could just as easily be a load of pheasants as opposed to boxes laying on the side of the road. What are you going to do if that happens while you're delivering birds? Who are you going to call? So why plan? What's the purpose of going through the effort to putting this thing together? Well, it's a good way to brainstorm about potential problems that might come up. You might come up with things that you never thought would be a problem that could be. It's going to prepare you, and the more you put into the plan, the better off you're going to be prepared. During a crisis, people are often reactive and emotional, and they don't make good decisions. Actually, it's not a fact that they don't make good decisions. People do make good decisions sometimes in crisis. They just don't make thought-through decisions. They're not thinking a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, a month ahead. They're thinking an hour ahead. They're thinking tomorrow. So if you're thinking about it and you're not in the moment, you're better off to get a thought-through decision. It gives the others a resource in the event that you're not there. Maybe you're the reason there's an emergency. Maybe we're in an accident, in the hospital, whatever. Someone else should have a point of reference to know what to do if you're not around. And you can make a solid thought-through decision without the stress. It's easier to think when you're not in a stress mode or crisis mode. It's easier to think ahead before you go. So how do you plan? It's pretty straightforward. You think about the problems, you prepare for them, you respond when something happens, you go into a recovery mode after the incident happens, you try to mitigate any damages, and then you basically start over and prepare again. So the first step is brainstorming. Just get a piece of paper, get as many people involved as you can, write down all the possibilities that you think could go wrong. how you're going to respond to each of them. Determine the effects of the responses. Use a lot of if and then statements, because when you make a decision and move on to the next decision, each one's going to affect the other, and you just want to just flush it out as much as you can. There's just as small a detail as you can get. Just write it all down. You're not organizing. You're just trying to brainstorm any possible problems that